Now you're live.
Hello everyone, welcome on board, and I'm sure I'm going to welcome you several times, and I'm going to ask, as I always do, my camera person, how many are we? 3, 0. That is fantastic. And let's just wait a little while with this funny thing that I have in my hand, and I'm just going to wait until just a little while, maybe a half a minute or a minute until everyone is on board, and we'll see. Okay, tonight is a very, very special night because we're having Persian chicken with pomegranate syrup. Oh, how exquisite, and walnuts or almonds. And again, I'm going to ask my camera person, one person, I'm going to welcome. Actually, not only on board, I'm going to welcome you into my kitchen in very close to Berlin. Should I say Berlin? Is that better for you? Brandenburg. We're so close to the border that I could say that we're in Berlin, but we're actually in Brandenburg. Welcome on board to all 3 of you. Do me a favor, all 4 of you or everyone, can you write your name in my chat box or in your chat box so that I can welcome you by your name? And then we'll start cooking very, very soon. My camera person says 3, 4, 3, 4. All right, I'm going to welcome you all. And I'll just wait another quarter minute, half a minute, and we'll start cooking. Yeah, okay. Hello, everyone. Okay, we are going to start. However, don't forget to write your names down, and then my camera person is going to read the names as we cook. All right? Okay. Do all of you know what fizincan is? Fizincan is chicken stew. Fizincan in Farsi or in is a meat stew, and usually poultry, chicken. But in the past, and we're talking about 40, 50 years ago, not even, they predominantly used the wild birds, wild ducks. And when I lived in Iran, this was 30 years ago, there were hardly any chicken available, although of course it was available, but predominantly wild duck. I had to order a lot of wild ducks for all our official functions in Iran on behalf of the German embassy. We had functions, as you know, this is diplomatic lifestyle, but I cooked all the time. Okay, camera person, how many are we?
7 people. Mariella and Mickey Kuhn say hello.
Mariella, thank you. I know you're a great supporter. Thank you for coming. And Mickey Kuhn, you're also another great supporter. Thank you for coming, Mickey. Mickey is from Montreal. Mariella is from Italy. And anyone else with her name or his name?
Barbara Rose.
Barbara Rose, I think you are from either Germany or from Italy. Let me know which Barbara Rose you are. I'd love to know. Shall we get started? I'm going to ask the cameraman to come along. I'm going to show you the ingredients.
Cynthia Who says hi.
Oh, Cynthia. Hello, Cynthia. Cynthia is from Texas. Hello, Cynthia. Thank you for your support. You're also a great supporter. I know that. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, so we're going to start with the main ingredient. And we're going to start off with our 6 pieces of chicken. We have the thigh and the drumstick. And then we have 2 large onions, which were chopped, 1 and 2. And we have 250 grams of ground nuts. According to the recipe, it's walnut, but in my family, they're allergic to walnuts, so I use almonds. So you can alternate between almonds and walnut. Although originally and traditionally you use the walnut, absolutely delicious with a walnut. And in a way, the flavor is far more intensive with the walnut. So if you're not allergic to it, do it with the walnut. It's so much better. Okay, then we also have something very special. We will use the pomegranate syrup and the pomegranate and reduced pomegranate juice without sugar. Very important, and I will tell you why. The Iranian cuisine is very conscious of the fact how to balance sweet, savory. And that's been done for over hundreds and hundreds of years. It's a beautiful, beautiful Iranian, or in this case, Persian cuisine. There is no fusion between one country or another, in my opinion. It is the combination of flavors from other sources. It's not necessarily the spices. Some spices they use, very, very little. But the flavor and the complementary flavor comes from either the meat, and in this case tonight, from the pomegranate syrup. And it's complementary. And there's an actual game or a play between these flavors. So you don't need the spices. There's only very, very few. Okay, we're going to also use 2 tablespoons of olive oil or vegetable oil of your choice. Make sure that it's clean oil. A reliable source, absolutely important. That it's not mixed with soya. You don't want soya meals, from my perspective, due to the it's genetically modified, and you don't want that. Okay, we also have Himalayan salt, clean salt. It's unfortunately no longer sea salt. Sea salt is no longer clean unless you know of a source where I can buy absolutely clean from all and chemicals. But for now, we're using. I have curcuma or turmeric, also organic in powder form. And to complement the curcuma, the Persians or Iranians have been doing this for hundreds of years, is to complement it with the pepper in order for the curcuma or turmeric to be absorbed by the body. Actually quite important for it to be absorbed. You saw the green here, and I will tell you also the other story. We have the walnuts here, and what do the Persians do, or Iranians? They toast the meat. So what they do, they grind it, and then when they grind, after having ground the walnut or the almond, in my case, for my family, then it is toasted. And we're going to start to do this. So we're going to toast the nut first. We're going to add some, and then we'll add the chicken, and we'll have a lovely, lovely meal. Okay, so I'm going to put the heat on a little higher here. And we're going to start off by actually dry toasting our, oh, here it is, our ground, in this case almonds, but in your case you're probably going to do the walnuts. And if you don't know, Iran is well known for their walnuts, almonds, actually, and hazelnuts too, but in 3rd or 4th place. So you can just stay there with the camera. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to put it on high heat, but you at home, you're not going to put it on high heat because you may just burn it. I'm putting it a little higher in order to expedite our recipe. In Iranian cuisine or Persian cuisine, the idea is to cook slow. You're not in a hurry or ever in a hurry. Because the foods they have to fuse, which means the flavors they have to fuse with each other, and this is the whole idea behind the cooking or Iranian or Persian cooking. So here we go, and guess what? While I was living in Iran, and this was not 30, this was 27 years ago, 28 years ago. I was there with my son and my husband. Child, my daughter, she was born in Iran. It wasn't quite expected for me to stay there and give birth in Iran because the hospitals were definitely not equipped for some of the pregnancy issues that I had. However, none of the airlines were ready to transport me to Germany or to Canada. They said, absolutely not, out of the question. We're not going to transport you anywhere with the issues that you have, because I had to have a medical report. And they simply wrote very diplomatically, we have hospitals in Iran, kindly accommodate yourself to get from the industrialized nations after the revolution to give birth. And I thought, isn't that a great idea? I will look for a doctor. Now I'm still toasting this just so that you know. And as soon as I smell the fragrance, I'll let you know. I will finish the story. And I had to find a doctor. And at that time, my husband had to use the car, the only one car that we had. Going to take a taxi. I was pregnant in my 6th or 7th month, and it showed. However, no one really noticed it because in Iran at that time, I had to wear a long coat or a manteau and a scarf, relatively long here, and the length to the back. The rules of the country. And no nail polish, no makeup. I took a taxi, and the taxi driver said, "Where, madame? Where, madame?" And I said, "Oh, doctor." And I don't think he understood. However, on our way to the doctor, unfortunately, we had an accident. I know I'm sounding funny, but at any rate, we were saved. In Iran, it's quite common to be in a car accident. And what happened is that the flooring gave way, and I had my feet dangling in the taxi. I told the taxi driver, "Don't bother, nothing is damaged. We can actually go to the doctor." He said, "We're not going to a doctor." I said, "Yes, I am homily." Homily means I'm pregnant. He understood that I'm going to deliver now. So he took the car, left the scene of the accident, and took me to the doctor. And he said, "You're not going to no hospital." I said, No, doctor." He was very, very disappointed. At any rate, I arrived at the doctor's place, and I was really very, very lucky because I was carrying many, many gifts. When you have to bring a few gifts sometimes to your doctors. And I had them all hidden. I'm not going to say in the camera what I had, but I had them hidden under my coat, and I had it strapped along the stomach, actually on top of my daughter, quasi. So it looked like in my 9th month pregnancy. And I'm glad that the accident wasn't as severe in order to have broken all the bottles. This was an awful, awful situation for me. I would have been jailed, I'm sure of that. At any rate, I arrived at the doctor's place, and I said to him, "Look, please open the door before the taxi driver chases after me." I was very, very upset. And he bring me the gifts. He wasn't interested whether I was in a car accident or not, but he was happy to have received the gifts. I will never in my life forget this. And I went back and shrunk back to my 6 months pregnancy and not to my 9th month pregnancy. I never told my husband this, never. But at any rate, here we go. Look, it's starting, the nuts, the composition here is starting to clump or to stick. And if you could smell it, it smells absolutely wonderful. So it's actually, yes, it smells of toasted almonds. In your case, you would smell the toasted walnuts. And what I'm going to just switch the heat off. And we're going to add 20 milliliters of cold water. And you don't have to worry about writing it down. The recipe will be posted either tonight or sometime tomorrow. Okay, so here we go. 420 ml cold water. And we're going to allow this to continue cooking slowly while we are preparing the other part of the dish. Okay, it's going to be a low heat. At home, when you are doing this, you will actually have this cooking or simmering for about an hour. If you don't have the time, you can skip that 1.5 hours or 1 hour simmering of your water. Doesn't really matter. So if you have time, give yourself the 1.5 hours. If you don't have time, it's not a problem. Okay, so there we go. Now what we're going to do, we're going to roast our onion, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to allow that to heat up a little bit. It's a relatively simple dish, a dish that, in fact, the Shah of Iran and his wife are alleged to have absolutely adored this particular dish. one of their favorites. The other one was shirin polo. Shirin polo I will do another time. And if you want to know the recipe for shirin polo, it's on YouTube under Bridges of Light. But shirin polo and fezenjan, or a stew, in this case with poultry, with chicken, was one of their favorite dishes. But almost every Persian or Iranian dish has an incredible flavor. It's always delicious. Always delicious. They have a very different way of cooking. And as I said before, the combination. Okay, and they acknowledge the food, which means they, as they do in the Emirates, they like to pray to the food and thank the food, or acknowledge, as they would say. Okay, so we're ready to put in the 2 onions. Actually, this is the first chopped onion. I'm going to increase the heat a little bit. Okay, and we have the second onion. Yeah, we're just going to stir this until it's slightly translucent. It's such a lovely smell. I love the smell of onion. There we go. We're almost there. Not quite, but almost. I have a new range, and it's very, 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 I have to get used to it. Very strong. So medium heat is lower than my other range. Okay. We're almost. I'm just going to stir the nut so that it will not stick to the bottom of the pot. There we go. And we keep stirring the onion. There we go. Okay, we're almost there. We're almost there. Okay, now I'm ready. It's semi-translucent, my onion. Absolutely gorgeous. And we're going to add curcuma or turmeric. It's about 1/4 teaspoon. Turmeric you will find in almost all of the favorite dishes in Iran. And they also add the pepper for absorption of the curcuma or turmeric. Not much, just a little. There we go. And now you can smell the turmeric as well, which is a lovely smell. Very, very earthy. For those of you who drink it every morning in your with your green juice, then you know what I'm talking about. And if you have fresh curcuma at home or turmeric, try to get the fresh one, the fresh roots, and you can either chop it or you can juice it and put it into the dish here, for example, or you drink it together with a little bit of ginger. That's your special shot for your health. All right, okay, so we're there. We managed to mix this properly. Now we also have a bit of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. There isn't very much. You may want to add a little bit more salt, but the flavors are so delicate that the salt should not be domineering at all. Okay, here we go. We're going to mix this. And now we are ready to place the chicken. The chicken I washed and dried. It has to be dried in order for it to be able to fry properly. It's just, you know, a short little, maybe a 2-minute or 3-minute frying in the pot. Okay, I'm just going to mix this. I'm going to decrease the heat. There we go. And there we go. They don't have to be brown. It's just ever so slightly cooked from the outside, and for the flavors to be fused with the onion and the curcuma to be absorbed partially by the chicken as well. And it already smells so much like Iran. We stayed in Iran for 3 years. almost 3 years. Almost 3 years. It was I think we were one of the longest staying diplomats. Normally they stay for 2 years, at the most 3. There we go. And we had just come from Yemen, so we were used to living in Yemen, and we had quite an adjustment to do from Yemen to Iran. It was my first experience living in a country. With regards to the design for diplomats, this is not a problem, but it was an adjustment, definitely. So I learned to wear my long coat, wear my hijab, the very long one, and make sure that my sleeve of the coat rear up to this halfway, my hands. Otherwise, it would have been considered sexually attractive if it had been open here. And I learned all that. It was absolutely amazing. And as you know, I have dark hair, and the possibility of being confused with one of the locals was very, very high. And my son at that time was 2 years old, blonde hair, and I spoke English to him. I took him for a walk to the park. Lord and behold, my first experience, this was the 10th or 12th day in Iran, I had one of the, I guess she was a police lady, very kind. She stopped me on the sidewalk. She rolled the window down of her Jeep, and in English she said, "Excuse me, do you speak Farsi?" I said, "I'm so sorry, I can't." And she said, "Look, I know that you are Iranian. However, according to your documents, you are declared officially as being Canadian from a Hungarian father and from a German Baltic father and born in Chile." And I said, "Yes, that's absolutely right." She said, "No, absolutely not. In fact, you are Iranian and you are to learn the Farsi language. I will make sure that you will learn the language." And I said to her, "You know what? You're absolutely right. Why don't you send me a teacher? Please, as you probably know where I live, and have her come to my house and I will learn Farsi." And I thought, well, the teacher will never come. Lord and behold, 3 hours later, that evening, I had the teacher. I did not know who she was. She rang the bell, don't speak English. She said, in Farsi, that she is a madrasa, coming from the madrasa, I think it was madrasa, from the school. I still didn't understand what she was talking about. So I had to bring the neighbor who spoke English and Farsi. And it was translated in such a way that I had ordered a teacher, that it was my free will to order a teacher so that I can learn Farsi. And I thought, okay, let's play the game. I had the following translated. Yes, of course, absolutely no problem. Would you like to start tonight? It was 9 o'clock. It was 21 hours. And she said, no problem, let's sit down. I didn't think that she was going to take all this seriously. I had no idea whether this was a game, a fake. At any rate, I welcomed her, I gave her food, and we started learning Farsi. So she came twice a week, and that for half a year to move to Tabriz. And that was the end of me, unfortunately, learning Farsi, because I became interested in the Iranian cuisine, and I went from neighbor to neighbor. So that's my story, or one of my stories, while I was living in Iran. Was it a challenge? No, I thought it was quite exciting. Certainly my heart was beating a little fast. I had these type of incidences, but I didn't have any fear. Never any fear. Okay, now I would like you to have a look at the chicken. We're actually quite well advanced. In your kitchen, however, you may want to roast this just a little longer. You may want to have the skin a little crispier if that's what you wish. And if you don't have the time, that's not a problem either. So I've lowered the heat, and now I can increase it just a little bit. And what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to leave the chicken here for a moment. And we're going to pour the pomegranate syrup directly into the nut mixture. All right, so we're just going to slowly mix it, and it's going to make the entire dish very, very dark. There we go. Slowly we're going to mix this. It almost looks like chocolate. The taste or flavor of the pomegranate syrup is quite acidic, and yet you might be fooled to think that there is sugar in it. There's a certain level of sweetness, but absolutely no added sugar whatsoever. Now, for those of you who are looking for this particular syrup, there are many options. You can either go into Amazon and you can buy it there, and I'll show you the bottle in a minute. Here we go. I'm just going to mix this. And here, I'm going to have the cameraman zoom in. This is in fact Turkish. You can buy, sometimes if you're very lucky, you can buy the same one from Iran. Some have sugar and some do not. I prefer this company here, the Turkish company. It's the same mixture as they prepare in Iran, however, absolutely without sugar. Nar means pomegranate, and exquisi. So nar exquisi is the name of this particular bottle here, and then you can read the name of the company if you want the same bottle. Absolutely, you don't have to, as long as it's not mixed with water. It has to be absolutely 100% reduced pomegranate. Now, if you're absolutely wild about replicating this recipe and you're not able to get anywhere your pomegranate syrup, what you could do is buy 2 liters of pomegranate syrup, hopefully juice, without sugar. You boil it down and then you simmer it until it's reduced. It's a lot of work. I would prefer to look for it. You can buy them at Arabic stores, Asian stores, especially Turkish stores here in Germany. And since I live outside of Berlin, about an hour and a half, I order most of my food through Amazon or any other online company, except for the fresh produce, but otherwise it's all ordered on Amazon. I'm not sponsored by Amazon, but under the circumstances living outside of this city, you have to be very, very flexible and inventive. Okay, so we've mixed this. So what we are going to do now is the following. Now we're going to transfer this. We are going to assume that this has been simmering for about an hour and a half. And I'm going to transfer this. There we go. And I'm glad that it's boiling. There we go. Okay, what we're going to do is transfer this to the other hot plate. And I'm going to put the fire on, or the heat on, to medium. And it may start to cook, and once it starts to boil, we're going to reduce the heat and cover it. Sorry. Okay, so our next step will be, and you've already witnessed, I need a pomegranate, and we're going to open a pomegranate, and you know the story already, some of you. I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to show you how to remove the seeds without much trouble. 2, and you're going to cut this into some segments, 3, 4 segments, 5, and 6. And then what you do is you slowly pry it open, slowly, without separating the segments. Hopefully you remove the centerpiece, which is this here. And yes, your hands get dirty, but it doesn't matter. Then you spread the wings, as they would like to call this. Now, for those of you who have not witnessed this before with me, you take a knife, a sharp knife, but a heavy knife actually, with a heavy handle. You take the non-sharp side and tap it. Tap until all the seeds have left the skin. Oh, it's coming out fine. Now, if you're not sure whether you're doing your job right, what you could do is just reverse it. Look, we're almost done. It's an easy, easy way without using the water method or submerging the seeds, the pomegranate seeds underwater. You certainly don't want to do that. In my opinion, you lose a lot of the flavor. So there we go. Now, if this fruit, in your case, were organic, I would keep the skin, dry it. Either in the winter, you can either dry it on your radiator or air dry it in your room, but make sure that it's dry from the inside and from the outside. Keep the skin, and for stomach ailments or lower abdominal intestinal ailments, you can always use this. In other words, if you're experiencing diarrhea, this is definitely a wonderful help. It's very, very astringent, very bitter, and terrible tasting, but very healthy. To say that you should not go to your doctor, definitely you should go to your doctor. But this is what I used a lot in South America while I was living there. We had lots of ailments. We didn't have very clean water, or in Egypt, the same issue. The water was not clean where we were living and working, so we were well supplied with pomegranate skin. Okay, I'm going to clean this. And the knife will just change position. I'm going to remove the white skin. We don't need this, or the inner skin. Okay. And by the way, this is a beautiful, beautiful accompaniment. In other words, you eat this together with the fezzen or with the pomegranate chicken walnut stew. Lovely combination with pomegranate. Okay, so we finished that, and by magic, and now this dish is accompanied with basmati rice, white rice or brown rice, and Iranians, they prefer most cases to eat with the white rice. I've already prepared the white rice. I'm going to in fact also show you the prepared fezzen, which I prepared before the show, so that you can have it, you can see it in its finished version. Okay, this is the finished version, and you can see the difference between the one that we just prepared now together. You still have a lot of the liquid, and it will be reduced by half, more or less by half. So I'm going to cover this, and it will be simmering down to its lowest. I have 1 to 9, so I'm going to leave it at 1 for the next hour and a half or 2. So this is how it looks like. Not very pretty, actually. And this is one piece of chicken covered entirely with the nut base and mixed with pomegranate syrup. And there you go. Lovely, lovely sauce. Now this is also eaten in Azerbaijan, by the way. And my cameraman is signaling someone is asking a question.
So, hello from Roberta Arigioni.
Hola, Roberta. Hola.
Hi from Oliver Babington, Wilson.
Hello, Oliver. Oh, thank you for coming on board, both of you. Thank you.
And then the question from Letizia Frontana.
Hola, Letizia.
How would you use it? She's referring to the pomegranate.
Yes.
For the stomach. Sorry, she did not get it the first time.
Sure. Wait, 1 minute. Okay. Let me show you the skin. What you would do is take 250 ml to 300 milliliter water. You take about this size skin. If you want, you can go with 2, and you boil it, and then you simmer it for at least 10 to 15 minutes. This is one way. There are so many other recipes, and you can look it up in Google. The one that I used, especially in South America and in Egypt, we insert it into the water, boil it first, down. We simmered it for about 10 to 15 minutes, covered it with a lid, and then we drank this. You have to pull yourself together. It's very astringent, so if you feel that your tongue is turning, well, almost, but very, very helpful. You don't drink the entire 250 ml. You start with maybe 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons at the most. and then you observe how you're doing. You can do this 3-4 times a day, no more. But make sure, in my opinion, that it is organic. You certainly don't want the chemicals or the spray, otherwise it's counteracting or counterproductive, and it will not help your diarrhea issue. However, as I said before, diarrhea has to be looked at by a doctor, but if you're sure and you know what it is and the cause is not very severe, this is a beautiful natural method. Wonderful and very effective method. I hope I answered your question, sweetie. Okay, so what we're going to do this here. Again, I'm going to show you, for those of you who were not able to see it before. As I said, it's not very pretty, but Iranians are very good at turning their dishes to become very pretty and presentable. So allow me to do the following. I'm going to ask my son to stay here with the camera, and I will just be transferring a large platter to the other side. We're almost there. Okay, so here we go. We're going to be doing the following. I have a dish here, and I'm going to be transferring the chicken. Some pronounce it fezzenjun, but it's a dish that you can order almost at all Indian restaurants. And if you're going to order this one here, accompanied with rice and their bread, their national bread, barbari or sangiak. But the best one, in my opinion, is the barbari, which is usually used to be 1.5 meters, and with time they're now down to half a meter. And it's an oblong bread, very, very tasty, which goes with every meal. Now I'm going to just add a little more chicken. Actually, we can add probably all of it. And this dish is meant for a family of 3 or 4, depending on how much chicken you would want to eat. I have 6 pieces of chicken. I have a thigh and a drumstick, the thigh and the leg. Very flavorful. You can also add the breast, but make sure that you leave the skin on, otherwise it'll be very, very dry. So a lot of sauce. We certainly want a lot of sauce, and all of it. Nothing goes without a sauce, without a good sauce. There. Okay, so we have added the stew into the dish. I'm just going to clean this. There we go. And we're going to place it on this platter. Now there we go. And I talked about the bread. This is very similar to the barbari. I bought this in my district, and it's actually made by a Turkish company. Very similar, not the same, but it looks very similar. But the Iranian one, if you're going to a restaurant, as I said, ask for the barbari or sangiak. They're oblong. They're actually quite long. It used to be 1.5 meters. And they're down to about 3/4 meter, but long. And you will actually be able to identify the barbari bread because they pass their 4 fingers right across the dough, and they bake it this way to identify it being barbari. And the is a long triangle, paper thin, breaks easily, but a lovely bread to be eaten with the sauce. Now I'm going to break the bread, which goes so well with it. This is how they do it. I'm going to place it here. This is how you leave it. And we're going to continue. I have another question.
Mariella is asking, can you also use some vegetables or potatoes with the dish?
Yes, you can. I think, Mariella, you're asking if I can add the vegetables and the potatoes into the stew. Yes, you can. And for those of you who are vegetarian and you don't want the chicken, you can go and replicate the recipe in this same way that I have just done, only replace it with the vegetables of your choice. So from the weight, it's about 1.5 kilos in vegetables. So it's actually your choice. Of course, yes, you can. Or the potatoes and the vegetables as a side dish, if you wish. But I think, Mariela, you're asking whether I can add it in. Yes, you can. Okay, I'm going to take the rice. Okay, what I'm going to do here, I have here the very typical Iranian style rice. Although, for those of you who have not been to Iran, the government of Iran does not permit or allow to have their rice exported. So you really cannot have their, or have even tasted their original rice. The rice is a combination between the standard long grain rice and a basmati. It's not called basmati there, it's called Iranian or Persian rice. And they have the classical rice, they have the the brown rice, and dudi, the smoked rice. Exquisite. If you're going to be going to Iran, and if you can order the smoked rice or the local Iranian rice. Their water is very different, their taste different, and their ground and the mineral contents in their ground where they grow the rice is impeccably delicious. Absolutely, very, very different. And you can even taste the ground. It's just lovely. All right, now I'm going to just add the rice here. And in their style, I also have the Iranian spoon. For this is called the Iranian kitchen, a rice kitchen spoon. And in Iran, you eat not necessarily with a knife, it's with the fork. However, as an exception, the exception is with this particular stew, because you have the chicken still attached to the bone. They don't necessarily eat with their hands or fingers, although in some areas throughout the country they do. But most often than not, it's only with the fork and with the right hand. However, you can use the knife too in this particular case, when you have the meat attached to the bone. Okay, I have another question, Nikolai. Is that what you're saying? Oh, the spoon. Yes. My son just corrected me and he's right. Thank you, Nikolai. That they eat with the spoon. Yes, they eat with the fork too, but predominantly with the spoon. And why? It has to be all actually prepared in such a way, the food, that you don't have to use a knife. You don't need a fork. You just spoon it into your mouth in order to facilitate the chewing, facilitate eating, and it actually costs a lot of work for the person cooking, but it tastes so good. Thank you, Nikolai. That was awesome. Yes, the fork is used, but most often than not, no, it's the spoon. Thank you. Okay, so we have the rice here, and you're going to see what I'm going to do now. We're going to decorate now the fezzenjun with the pearls of pomegranate. We're going to do the same thing here on the rice. We're going to decorate it and just allow the seeds to drop down. The rice always has to be decorated. And the more the merrier. There we go. And there's still some green coming as well. All right, and here, and we have, yes, here we go. Now, all the dishes, what they will require is a little bit of dill. There, yes, we have a question, I can see.
Mariela stated, or I assume it's a question, but also such little quantities on the big plate.
Yes, such little quantities. You don't have to. You know what? You can decorate it, or you can actually place it on a normal dish, rice dish. Let me show you which is the normal Iranian one. In Iran, they use predominantly oval dishes. So yes, you can place the rice on a much smaller dish. You don't have to use the large platter. I always use a large platter because of the large events, and it just gives a different impression. But you can do as you wish. You can serve the stew in your round dish or square dish, and the rice comes on your smaller dish. I hope that answers your question. Yes, another question?
And or remarks from Letizia and Mariella, or from Letizia. I love the presentation of your dishes. They always look delicious.
Thank
you. From Mariella, you are an amazing decorator. Lovely plated.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. No, I enjoy it. Yes, I really do. I really do. It's all part of the, I think the eye eats as well, and that's the reason why I love doing it, I guess. Now, you're going to ask yourself, or I hope you are, why always the green? For Iranians, the green, or sapsi, is important. Seven different greens. In this case, I have, I think, 3 or 4 different greens that I will be placing on the platter. For them, the food has a direct contact with chlorophyll, which means when they assume that when they're eating the rice with the chicken and the sauce, they're not going to eat continuously the same food for the next 20 or 30 minutes, but they will alternate it with greens, and they call it the chlorophyll, which means the intestine needs the chlorophyll. They need to signal the intestine that the food is coming and they should start the digestion. At the same time, it supplies the blood with oxygen, according to the Iranians. And this is now over 100 years old, this information. So how did they know at that time that the blood needs oxygen? And they called it blood purifier. Amazing. And it's still done today. And again, we have this decoration here also on the bread, which gives the guest eating or sharing, especially if you're sharing, the option to take mint or dill. And I also have, here we go. We also have other greens that go with it. And in fact, if you were at a restaurant, at an Iranian restaurant, and you ask for the 7 greens, and if they don't have the 7 greens and ask for the 5, they will give you a lot more. You get it's 2 handful of greens for every meal per person. So you're alternating a little bit of rice, the green, a little bit of meat, the green, or rice and meat, then the green, and the pomegranate. It's a combination of pomegranate, the meat, and the greens, which also motivate your intestine or your gut to be in a healthy modus. So I think we're almost done with the decoration. Almost. Oh yes, here. We're going to decorate it. Just, there we go. And then also a handful of tomatoes. Lots of tomatoes. Actually, it's more than a handful. And now, here we go. We have a little bit more green. And I hope I did not forget. Oh, yes, I have one more. I'm going to ask the cameraman to just zoom towards the walnuts. You know, I cooked with almonds, but in your case, you will be cooking with walnuts. And this is where, again, the walnuts are very important. They're indicative that you used walnuts in your dish. And you're decorating your rice also with walnuts. If you wish, you don't have to, but you can. And we're going to go to the other side as well. And you can place them half or whole. And if you can get walnuts from your local area, if you are close to walnut trees, get the fresh ones if you can. We have the German walnuts. They taste wonderful. And we also have walnuts coming from France, from Grenoble, also exquisite. I prefer the Iran, if I can ever get the Iranian walnuts. If you have Iranian friends, ask them to bring you the walnuts. Absolutely exquisite. It's very different. It's far more intensive. They're smaller, and they're a little darker, just a little darker, but the flavor is far more intensive. Okay, one more nut that I'm going to bring. I'm going to ask my son to stay here for a minute. Okay, and what I have here are pistachios. Pistachios never be forgotten. Here we have the pistachios. There we go. So I'm going to move the pot. Hopefully you can see better this way. Okay, we're going to put the heat down. There we go. I think you can see a whole lot better this way. Okay, and now for those of you who are still on board, I have 2 spoons, and they're both, I'm very lucky. I just before leaving, not this one, but this spoon here. This is a typical Iranian rice spoon. They're usually longer. They have them shorter because at the time when I was there, the last year, the price of silver went very, very high and they didn't have enough silver. So what they were selling are the short version. And what I still have from my movie, yet from my last move, they're the longer ones. It's about 2 feet long or 1.5 feet long, which means you have double or triple the length of the handle. And the spoon is either round or almost square, or the other one is round and pointed. There are different spoons. As this one here is round, more modern, and the classical is round at the top and pointed towards the front and with a longer handle. So it's a rice spoon for serving purposes, which comes here. And here I have another silver one. In fact, was given by my mother. However, in Iran, they say if you can, try to eat and serve with a silver spoon. We need the metal in our body according to philosophy in Iran. You need to have the contact between the tongue and your silver because we need the metal into our body. Now, and then you serve it, of course. The contact, silver and food is also a sign of honoring the food or the dish that you have prepared. And at the same time, when the Iranians, when they finish preparing the food and they're going to present it to you, it's always in connection with honoring the guest or honoring the person who's going to receive the food. It is for them, according to what I have learned, almost the highest level of acknowledging the person who will be receiving. Now, there is a difference between complimenting a person and acknowledging the person, the guest. Complimenting is superficial, and acknowledgement means they're touching your heart. They're actually what they're doing, they have worked and created something for you, and in this case, it's always food. It's the same thing as if I were to tell you, thank you for helping me today with my shopping, or thank you for buying the food for me, which means you have done something for me. There's a verb in the sentence, then it's not a compliment, it's an acknowledgement, and you really mean it. Whenever you add a verb to a sentence where you think it's a compliment, it's not a compliment, it's an acknowledgement, and this is what Iranian or Persian food is all about. So if you're in a restaurant and you see and you notice that it's beautifully decorated, they took the time to not only cook it and put it on the table, but they decorated it as well, and that is a very foundation. Okay, so for those of you who are on board and may not know me, I'm going to finish, or I'm going to close the program tonight by saying who I am. My name is Alexandra. I've been invited by Gaetano Vivo, who is the owner and the host of Bridges of Light, on the program that I'm on now and that you are on now. It's a holistic station. I'm a holistic coach as well, and food coach as well. And I wish that you will have fun, and I hope that you will have fun. Recipe, you will get the recipe either tonight or tomorrow, and we'll be seeing each other as of next week. However, there will be a slight change. I'm going to be baking German, Canadian, and Hungarian Christmas logs. So if you're into preparing your Christmas sweets, I will be, in fact, guiding you right through it. We'll be using a whole lot less sugar than with the conventional recipes, and some recipes will be raw, absolutely exquisite, which you can freeze. And remember that on November 11th, For those of you doing a lovely, lovely holistic coach who in fact is a relationship coach, but in a very, very different. She's written an interesting book, and some of you already know her through me, or perhaps you've met her through other venues. But I hope that you will be attending the November 11th German interview I will be doing. I will not be cooking on November 11th, but every Thursday, as of next Thursday, we will be preparing Christmas biscuits, Christmas Hungarian and German with Oriental influence. All right. And with this thought in mind, I'd like to thank you for being on board. Thank you for being in my kitchen. I wish you could be able to perhaps taste it one day when you visit me. I'm very close to Berlin. All right. Thank you very much and goodbye to everyone.